People love Hermitcraft. Hell, I love Hermitcraft. People also love the hermits, however I think there's a real discrepancy in between which hermits get the love they deserve and which hermits don't. Don't get me wrong, I totally get why certain members of the server are so popular. The sort of stuff they get up to is honestly incredible. I mean, look at how Mumbo's building has evolved in recent years, it's just amazing. But I believe that all hermits are born equal, and more importantly that all hermits deserve your watch time. Now, I'm sure there's an absolute ton of reasons why you, my lovely viewer, haven't stayed up to date with some of the smaller members of Hermitcraft, and that's why I'm here to fill in the blanks. Yes, today I'm going to catch you up on some of those amazing hermits that you've missed over the years, and explain why they deserve a lot more hype than they actually get. Okay, to start off, I think we've got to make it really clear what I exactly mean by underrated, because, of course, all the hermits obviously have pretty solid fan bases. While some of the hermits have dropped in popularity in recent years, everyone has a really good and supportive community around them. Community that I'm honestly proud to be a part of. That being said, when I refer to an underrated hermit, I'm talking about a hermit who deserves as many loyal fans as, say, Mumbo. These creators are all committed, hardworking individuals who deserve a lot more love than they actually get. These creators also tend to go against the algorithm, which in part might explain their smaller viewership. You see, a lot of the smaller hermits have far more candid videos, which I personally love. Instead of filling their videos with snappy cuts and shortened sequences, they let us peek behind the scenes of Hermitcraft and get to know the hermits on a deeper level. These hermits all have a similar charm. Their content is almost reminiscent of Minecraft's early days on YouTube. By leaving in extended and less stylized sequences, these hermits make their content feel real and authentic. And that's why I love these guys. They remind me of the heart and soul of Minecraft YouTube. So, without further ado, let's take a journey into the heart of Hermitcraft and answer the question, who is the most underrated hermit?
Hey guys, what's up? It's Jebano. How is everybody doing?
First up, we have Jevin. Now, Jev is the epitome of slept on. I'm sure most people are somewhat acquainted with Jev after his role in the Permit arc last season. But I'm telling you, this man is so much more than just a salmon worshipping outlaw. This dude is talented in so many different aspects of the game, and a major part of that is his constant ambition. He always has some crazy idea that he tirelessly and consistently works towards. In Season 10, Jev not only created an immersive forest base fitted with armor stands and a small village, but he also created a giant castle in the space of just a few short months. That kind of persistence is what I admire most about Jev. He's just so consistent. I mean, during Season 10, this guy went through a car crash and he still continued to upload. Hell, this guy was coughing to the point where he was breaking ribs, and he still made an effort to update his audience. Now, of course, no YouTuber is actually expected to do that. If I'm going to be totally honest, I doubt I do that for you lot. But that makes Jev all the more admirable. He does what others won't. I also love the style of his content and its roots in the early Minecraft YouTube scene. He'll often also post whole videos just highlighting other hermits' work and showcasing their builds, which just shows how selfless this man is. That being said, Jev also spends a solid amount of his time just chatting with his audience. He acknowledges that his viewers care about him, an attitude that really drives his personal improvement, both in game and in real life. Jev is also just super versatile. Rather than pigeonholing himself to just one aspect of the game, Jev is pretty much up for anything. Whether it be extended lore segments, mega builds, or even the occasional redstone project, Jev always gives it his all. If I had to compare Jev to another hermit, it'd probably be Ren or Cubfan. Like Ren, Jev is great at sticking to a theme throughout his season. He's also quite silly and comical like Ren, but maybe just a little bit less lore driven. On the other hand, Jev also has a lot of similarities to Cubfan, particularly in his interactions with other hermits. Both of these hermits perfectly walk the line between having fun and getting work done. So if you're a fan of Cub, I definitely recommend checking out Jev. Plus, Jev is really trying to hit 1 million subscribers this year, so why don't you head over there and give him a subscribe? I'm sure he'd really appreciate it.
Joe.
Next up we have Joe. Joe is entirely underrated. In fact, when I was writing his section in my Hermitcraft Season 10 ranking video, I came up with the idea for this very video you're watching now. You see, I could yap about how underrated Joe is for days, and so here we are, yapping about how underrated Joe is. Hopefully not for days. Anyway, let me give you a little perspective on just how prolific of a Hermitcraft member Joe Hills is. First off, this guy was one of the earliest members of Hermitcraft and one of 2 hermits to appear in every season. With over 2,000 videos on his channel, it's safe to say that Joe is committed to the grind. One of the cool things about Joe is that he's more than just a hermit. In fact, he's one of the very few hermits on the server who consistently makes the content he wants to make. Because of this, Joe has made a ton of really interesting series on his channel. Whilst these videos didn't get a ton of views, he still went out of his way to make make them, which just shows how passionately committed he is to the channel. That being said, we are talking about Joe as a member of Hermitcraft, so let's try and get back to talking about his merit as a hermit. Joe is probably the most random hermit. His videos are filled with strange characters and monologues, as well as extended uncut segments where he just sort of chats with the other hermits. This style of content creation creates a really welcoming atmosphere, which just makes his whole channel feel all the more approachable. That approachability also bleeds into the projects that Joe works on. Now, Joe does make some insane mega builds, which honestly I couldn't replicate if I tried. However, by splitting these projects up across multiple videos, Joe makes his builds feel a lot more realistic. The way he talks us through each element of a build gives his work a sense of purpose and reason, which is ironic considering just how random Joe's builds tend to be. Currently, Joe is working on constructing a film studio for the other hermits to film segments in. Last season he destroyed an entire mountain range just to create a replica of the Homedale Labs. What is the connecting thread between these projects, I hear you ask? Well, the hermits. You see, Joe has the very unique ability of always finding some way to get other creators involved with his work. He's always happy to not just uplift his fellow content creators, but also provide them with a bit of space to exercise their creative freedom. This sort of collaborative mindset is what sets Joe apart. He consistently collaborates not just with other hermits, but also with random interesting people. Throughout the years, he's interviewed experts and even charities on his channel, using his platform for the benefit of others. He also uses his platform to bridge that weird parasocial gap between a YouTuber and his audience. By sharing things about his real life on his channel, Joe feels less like a YouTuber and more just like another human on this weird spinning rock we live on. Simply put, Joe is not easily defined. He does a lot and works really hard, making him a clear contender for Hermitcraft's most underrated member. Hypno has had a somewhat rocky experience with Hermitcraft in recent times. He took a pretty big hiatus during season 10, which meant that, understandably so, his community sort of faded away. And yet, none of that really matters because Hypno's back, and boy is he better than ever. So far this season, Hypno's constructed an absolutely ginormous pyramid, fitted with a state-of-the-art storage system and a worrying amount of cats. Now, I know that sounds like he's done a lot, and it might be too late for you to jump in now, but I guarantee you that now is as good a time as any to get into Hypno's content. You see, Hypno's very good at walking that line between quantity and quality. Well, yeah, he has done a lot of work so far this season. He clearly has a wider vision in mind that is going to take some time to achieve, meaning that whilst the current progress that he's made may be pretty jaw-dropping, we can expect a lot more from him throughout the season. Plus, we also can't forget the merits of Hypno as a content creator. He's a good builder, but he's also just an entertaining guy. His videos often tend to focus more on his work, opposed to his interactions with other hermits. To some extent, this limits Hypno, because he doesn't really feature all that much in other people's videos. However, this also provides the pretty major benefit of giving us more time to get to know and love Hypno. I must admit that I myself am relatively new to his content. I tried watching some of his season 10 videos, but after he disappeared from the server, it was difficult to stay committed. But then again, me being a bit of a novice to his work means that I can assure you that his community are very approachable. This could possibly be because Hypno's a bit of an icon in Minecraft history, to be honest. His roots stretching back to season 1 of Hermitcraft ensure that he has a pretty dedicated long-term fan base. On that note, weirdly, I really love Hypno's thumbnails. They're not clickbait, but they're not boring. They're just authentic, like Hypno. Hypno always takes the time in his videos to break the fourth wall and talk to us a bit through his build, which again really enhances that authenticity. Basically, if you want to watch someone who feels real, check Hypno out because he's as authentic as you can get.
Hello, child. We both know why you're here. Just press the button. That's all you have to do. Press it. Press the button.
Come on, just press the button. I want to get on with the video. Jesus.
Hey everybody, Vintage Beef here.
Beef is probably the most contentious member on this list because, well, he's done a lot during his time on YouTube. As an influential member of both Minecraft and Hermitcraft, Beef has certainly earned his 1.5 million subscribers. However, I feel like his audience has sort of disappeared as Beef has begun to upload less often. Ironically, in season 10, when Beef had to spend less time on the server and more time with his son, I started to love his stuff more than ever. I think a big part of that is how calm and relaxing Beef's style of presentation is. I just love how his videos aren't focused on getting a ton of work done. They feel more like an update with how Beef's getting on as he talks us through the work that he's doing. Now, I do recognise the irony of saying all this when he currently is on a bit of a break. However, I hope that once things have settled down a bit in Beef's personal life, he'll be back to uploading. But hey, even if he doesn't, this guy's got well over a decade of content in his backlog, which is just as good as some of his new stuff. I mean, just look at how much he's done for Hermitcraft through the creation of TCG. The fact that this guy went to the effort and committed to the grind of creating a whole ass game that both us and the Hermits can play is really admirable. And then there's the multitudes of different series he's created. In the last year alone, Beef has made videos on the Minecraft server, his own Skyblock server, as well as a slew of other interesting side projects. I feel like if you watch Beef, you'll find it very easy to like Beef as a content creator and not just a hermit. I personally love binge watching all his videos on the Beef Plays channel, even though that channel has literally nothing to do with Hermitcraft. That being said, Beef is also a really great hermit. His build style, which I've talked about at length in a previous video, is really unique. He's also really well connected with the other hermits on the server. Given his long history of YouTube, it's not a surprise that he gets on with pretty much everyone. Because of this, Beef could collab with pretty much anyone on the server, which is great if you're like me and love seeing the hermits cross paths. Essentially, Beef is a hermit that I love beyond Hermitcraft. He's cool, chill, and most importantly, open-minded to new projects, so if that's your vibe, check him out, because he's really great.
I really think you should kick Wells Knight off that server.
Why?
Wells is probably the most candid hermit out there. By candid, I mean that he's always open and honest with his audience. I think a perfect example of this is the video uploaded last season where he explains his struggles with ADHD. I really admire the way that he openly discussed his real life issues with his audience in that video, and ever since I've been hooked on his content. This sort of candidness has also bled into his other videos. He often lets his clips sort of linger on as he chats away about his builds, rather than scripting sequences to describe what he's been up to. On that note, Wells is also just such a damn good builder. I cannot understate how talented Wells is. I mean, just look at his current base, it's beautiful. The way he uses shape and colour in his Japanese castle this season is so good. Watch my other videos. Anyway, Wells is also just such a nice guy. If you look at the start of his current season, you can see that. Not only did this guy build the Ender, but he also set up a whole end hub for the hermits. He's a great team player, which is also really admirable. I feel like when Wells took a bit of a break from the server, it could have been really easy for him to distance himself from the other hermits, but he's really done the opposite. He spent a lot of this season winding up Gem, which is really funny. I also love how he dedicates whole videos to the most random of things. He somehow makes a video about digging a hole interesting, and if that's not talent, I don't really know what is. I think it's the way he talks us through his content. Rather than just skipping to the end product and ignoring the whole process, Wells takes the time after building something to explain his thought process. I really appreciate that kind of thing because it makes his stuff feel doable. That's why I love Wells. He's considerate and kind. He doesn't just do things for him, he does them for the hermits and his audience too. So hey, if you're ever wondering which guy made that massive Japanese castle that looms over season 11, check out Wells, and honestly, he'll probably teach you a thing or two.
Oh yeah, it's FedXP.
I cannot help but feel incredibly proud to be a fan of XB. This guy, man, this guy. XB hasn't had the easiest life. His interview on the Imp and Skids podcast taught me a lot, but what I learnt most from hearing XB talk about his difficult childhood is that it doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is what you become. XB has become one of the kindest not just hermits, but also content creators out there. I mean, just look at the way he's been supporting the others as FedXB this season. It honestly blows me away just how thoughtful he can be. We also have to acknowledge that XB is really pushing himself this season. He's spoken before about his struggles with social anxiety, and I think it's just wonderful how he's been pushing himself to come out of his shell. Beyond that, XB is also just super talented. Season after season, this guy creates some of the most awe-inspiring builds and mega projects. And yet, XB's builds never feel like a mega project. XB has this amazing way of making giant builds seem feasible. A big part of that skill is how he regularly uploads videos. Rather than focusing on getting tons of work done just in one video, XB shows the grind and smaller projects that go into creating the large-scale projects. Because of this, when I watch XB, I feel like if I tried, I could definitely create a build inspired by his work. I think part of that also comes from the organic flow of his videos. You see, a typical XB video doesn't have the typical structure of slowly developing a project across an episode. Instead, XB will just let his videos flow freely. One minute we might be getting a clip of him yapping with Corrales, and then the next he cuts to a time lapse of him digging a massive hole. This kind of unpredictability makes every single one of XP's videos a treat. As I write the script, I hope that the words I'm saying are slowly becoming more and more relevant. You see, so far in season 11, XP has really hit his stride in terms of viewership, and I would love to see his channel continue to grow. If anyone deserves success, it's XP, so, maybe check his channel out, it's great, I promise. So I guess that brings us to the question, who is the most underrated member of Hermitcraft? Could it be Joe Hills and his cast of weird, kind of strange characters? Is it Jevon and his constant dedication to the grind? Or should it be Hypno and his interesting approach to the game? And then there's Vintage Beef, who's shown us for years now that he's solidly underrated. Or Wells, who shows us what authenticity really means. Well, despite the fact that these hermits are absolutely solidly underrated, I would argue the most underrated hermit is definitely XB Crafted. To me, XB encapsulates everything that makes Hermitcraft great. He's fearless and he's hardworking, but he's also down to earth and authentic. He's also just an incredible builder who makes things that honestly blow me away. But what I think we can learn most from XB is that being a hermit doesn't involve being entirely social. I think it's amazing how he's pushing himself this season to try and come out of his shell, but I also think it's amazing that he's managed to gain this audience while still struggling with social anxiety. I love that since the beginning of his channel he's pushed himself to do things that he doesn't really want to do but knows he should. Because of this, he doesn't get lazy, he sticks to it and he works hard, and I think that's something we could really learn from. But then again, this is all just my opinion. You will probably think that people I haven't even talked about in this video are the most underrated hermit. So let me know down below, because I would love to hear your take. I'd also really appreciate it if you consider subscribing. These videos do take quite a while to make, and it really helps me out if you just click that little button. Anyway, I've wasted enough of your time today. You go and, live your life or whatever you do. I've been JJ, you have been amazing, and this has been Hermitcraft's most underrated member.